Yo, I've been getting this comment a lot lately. Drew, I just opened this Pool 3 card. Is it any good? And as I imagine, I'm sure a lot of people are starting to enter Pool 3, and that is one of the most exciting times because it's the biggest pool in the game, and there's a lot of cool cards to collect. But some can be more exciting than others. Some can have their decks built around them, or even keywords built around them, whereas others, well, they're a bit disappointing. This is my top 5 pulls early on in Pool 3. So what I mean by that is you're going to start collecting Pool 3 cards at collection level 484. That's going to be your first Pool 3 chest. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a card in that very chest. You have a 50% chance that it's a new card. And then once you hit collection level 1000, they become collector's reserves, and that has a 25% chance of getting a new card, so it slows down a little bit. If you don't happen to roll in the first 6 chests, well, don't worry, there's a pity timer. So if you open 6 chests, you're guaranteed to get a new card afterwards. So you will eventually get those cool shiny cards. The cards I've selected aren't necessarily the 5 best cards in the game, but they're cards that can easily build decks with Pool 1 and 2 cards and be very, very strong. In fact, still their current versions, after having a full collection, you'll end up with a similar deck to what I'm going to show you here. And that's why I think they're the most exciting and the most valuable to get early on compared to some others. And I'm going to cover the bottom 5 in a future video. Let me know in the comments below what your first Pool 3 card is. I want to know. And if you do, I'm going to comment back with a 1 to 5 stars to let you know how exciting that card is. Apologies if you only get 1 star. All right, time to unveil these top 5. Number 5, Dracula. Now, Dracula holds a very special place in my heart because this was my first Pool 3 card. And in my early journey in Pool 3, this card absolutely carried me. It's a lot of power, deceivingly so, from its effects. So he is a 4 cost, 0 power card. So not so good. But at the end of the game, discard a card from your hand. This has its power. So imagine if you have a lot of high power cards in your hand, like Hulk, Infinaut, APOC, at the end of the game, because you had too many, you couldn't play them all. Well, you're going to discard one and Dracula's going to get its power for a big swing that your opponent might not be able to anticipate. But the true value and why this card is really here is because it doesn't get countered. I think early on, a lot of people like to play cards like Enchantress, Cosmo, and they still do later on, but they're a little bit more prominent early on because they have less options to tech in. And this card doesn't get affected by any of them. It doesn't have an on reveal ability, doesn't have an ongoing ability. It doesn't even have that high power total until the end of the game. So if your opponent plays Shang-Chi, it can't actually destroy Dracula. He has no counter. I mean, really the only counter is if your opponent can get stuff into your hand that doesn't have a lot of high power. Now, it's a bit difficult sometimes, and you're going to find yourself in a 50-50 situation very often. But when it works, and it feels great. So the idea behind this deck, the Dracunaut, is you want to play all of your early game stuff at one location, stack that location up as much as possible, maybe win it with Storm and Professor X, so that on turn 6, all you have to do is play Dracula and anything else that you possibly can to make it so that only those big guys are in your hand. And then it's guaranteed value and probably a big enough swing to push for the win. So check out this clip. All right, so in this clip, I just played Professor X down the middle and I got my Dracula ready. Now, the reason I did this is because I have those 3 big guys in my hand and I don't want to hit Professor X, right? So I played him down the middle despite probably not winning that location unless I hit it big. My opponent goes for an Odin play. Professor X comes out. Sunspot buffs on the left to get the win. And Dracula discards Hulk for 12 power. And I get the win on a big burst turn 6. Number 4, Destroyer. Destroyer is a notoriously good card, just all around. But what I realized when I was putting this list together is that the current Destroyer list runs a lot of Pool 1 and 2 cards. Destroyer is a 6 cost, 16 power, on reveal, destroy your other cards. Now, that kind of seems bad, maybe. When I first saw this card, I was like, wait, why do I want to do that? How do I win the game? Well, the way you can do it is with 3 cards. Armor to protect one location, so you can stack a lot of power there, play armor, protect it from Destroyer, your own card, or Cosmo, who's going to stop that negative on reveal ability. So you just play Cosmo at some point and know that that's the location you're going to commit Destroyer to. Or Another protection method is Professor X, and that might even be the best one because that means you lock in that location, you win it, and then you just have to play Destroyer at the right other location, right? In a scenario where hopefully 16 power is enough to carry you, and you're solid. You won the game. So that's really what this deck is all about. It's a controlled deck. We have things like Cosmo and Enchantress. That's going to help us and negate our opponent's abilities, right? We don't really have a lot of ongoing stuff. Enchantress is great. Unless you play them both at the same location, try to avoid that. Another great card is Warpath. We'll play Warpath with Professor X. We don't plan on playing wide. This is a very tall deck, so we only want to play at 2 locations. Then you also got Hobgoblin, who goes on the other side, and we don't have to worry about destroying him. But then you have the Destroy package with Wolverine, Nova, Bucky Barnes. We don't even have to destroy these cards until we play Destroyer at the very end. So don't hyper-focus on Carnage, Bucky combo, or anything like that. You don't have to sweat it. You just have to play them elsewhere outside of your protected range, so Destroy triggers them. All right, in this clip, I set up the left real nice. I was winning it no matter what because with the Professor X and Warpath. And because of Titan making 6 cost cards cost 1 less, on my turn 6, I'm able to play Nova and then Destroyer, which is money. Because even if it was kind of tight on the left side, the left location, Nova would get destroyed and give +3 power essentially to that location because it buffs every card by 1. My opponent played a bunch of cards. He was actually trying to move to the left, which got denied by Professor X. Destroyer comes out, can't destroy those 3 cards, and then he destroys Nova, giving the buffs, and 17 power is more than enough to win the right location, and I steal that game. Number 3. Wong. Wong is the combo god. He has so many amazing combinations in Pool 3, but surprisingly, there's 2 main decks. I'm featuring one, but I'm going to tell you about the second, that he is amazing with some early Pool 1 and 2 cards. So if you get him in Pool 3, that is money. You just won the lottery. This is a great card. So Wong is a 4 cost 2 power ongoing. Your on reveal abilities happen twice at this location. So if you were climbing early on in your games of Marvel Snap, I guarantee, I'm sure that you played White Tiger Odin combo. It's one of the best, easy to understand, and it's super fun. But what if you could double those tigers? Not just a couple times, but a few times. Well, that's Wong in a nutshell. You play Wong, you play White Tiger, and then you play Odin on top of that location to trigger all those things again. You're going to have so many tigers, you won't even know what to do with them. Literally, those 3 cards can carry you in a lot of games. So the rest of this is kind of fill. You can still do Ironheart with this combination. Wolfsbane is great. I got a little bit of a Destroy package because why not? It's early enough. I can play it elsewhere. But then the other deck I want to mention that I almost put up here is the Wong going deck. So that's essentially just having a lot of ongoing cards, play them all a bunch, and then you Wong and Spectrum, giving +4 power to all of the ongoing cards that you've stacked up throughout the game. It's extremely powerful. It's still at the top of the meta right now. Every time I see it, it's really nerve-wracking because that's such a big swing on turn 6, and it only requires 2 cards. So I highly recommend either trying the Tiger King or the Wong going, but I have this sick clip from the Tiger King that I'm going to show you right now. All right, so I had Wong set up at Shuri's Lab here, and my opponent actually played Captain Marvel at Shuri's Lab, doubling the power. That's a great combo. But I just got 2 tigers out. I'm feeling good. I throw out Odin because there is no other play. This is the play. We got 2 tigers, but how many are we going to get here? My opponent Heimdall's. I'm a little bit worried because that's a lot of power in the middle. But you know what? I'm not that worried because the tigers are coming out to play. They're on the hunt. They're on the prowl. Scorpion's going to slap him in the face a couple of times because why not? Doesn't even matter. 2 tigers come out, and then Odin's going to trigger again, affecting Scorpion once again. Slap, slap. And then tigers come out again for another 2 tigers, and I'm actually going to win all 3. Because Odin doubles up. Oh no, wait. Captain Marvel comes and saves the day to win 1 location, but not the game. So there you go. That's a total of 6 tigers in 1 game. Number 2, Sarah. Sarah is a crazy card. She's a 5 cost, 5 power, ongoing. Cards in your hand cost 1 less, but a minimum of 1. It took me a long time to get this card in my collection. I think she was in my last 10. So I didn't really fully understand the value from this card until much later on. But wow, she's crazy. And I imagine if it's one of your first Pool 3 cards, you're going to be matched up against some other decks, but you're going to be fine because there's a lot of combinations to be had here. And one of the best ways I like to play Sarah is with a turn 6 burst play. Because she's discounting everything in my hand, I want to set up the turn 6 to play as many cards as possible. And it works really well with Angela, Bishop, and Strong Guy. You see, Angela, she's going to get +2 power for each card we play there. So if I can play 3 on turn 6, that's going to be bonus 6 power. And on top of that, if we have Bishop, that's another 3 cards plus. That's another 4, 5. Who knows how much power we got going on there. And then Strong Guy is going to get a bonus 6 power if we have an empty hand. And the way we do that with this deck is we have a lot of discard, right? So I have things like Blade, Lady Sif, Swordmaster. So the dream curve here is Angela, Bishop, Strong Guy, Sarah, turn 6, dump everything as much as possible to guarantee you have an empty hand and a lot of power. Just like in this clip. So it's the final turn. I just got out Sarah. I was able to play the perfect dream curve, which I was pretty fired up about. If you can't play it, you're still going to be fine, trust me. But when it hits, it hits. So I play Swordmaster, right? We're going to discard 1 card out of our hand. I want to play Rocket because that might have the potential to be a lot of power. Then I'm going to play Lady Sif to, again, ensure that I have no cards in my hand. And also, she's my highest power at the moment. And then Nightcrawler. Sunspot's my least valuable card because he's not going to get a buff at all. He's just going to be 1. So Vision comes out. That's probably not going to be enough. He thought he was winning the right. He's thinking he's going to win the left. But Strong Guy gets activated. Bishop's getting crazy buffs. Angela's getting crazy buffs. It's just all kinds of power on turn 6 that he did not see coming. He thought he had it in the bag, but Sarah surprised him. Number 1, Patriot. All right, I think Patriot is number 1, the number 1 most exciting card to get early on in your Pool 3 collection because for one reason and one reason only. He absolutely brings to life an entire archetype. Not only that, but an entire keyword, the no ability keyword. You see, there's nothing else in Marvel Snap that benefits these cards. He's the only one. And a lot of those cards are kind of trash that you would never really use because all they're doing is giving you decent power for their cost. Well, now if you have Patriot, you're getting a lot of power for their cost, and it seems like a worthwhile time now. And it is, because he's a 3 cost 1 power. Ongoing, your cards with no abilities have +2 power. So all of a sudden, your Thing is 8 power. Your Cyclops is 6 power. Your Shocker is 5. The value starts to really climb. And that even includes tokens, things like the White Tiger's Tiger Spirit and Mr. Sinister, his clone, squirrels, ninjas, monsters, all the location tokens, they're all going to get the buff from Patriot. It is such a great card. So when I played this deck, I got this card maybe like my 10th or 15th. I was quite lucky. And I just went ahead and made a nice curve deck with all those cards I was not playing for booster purposes, to be honest. And then also I was winning a lot of games. And it's just stuff like the Thing, Cyclops, Shocker, Abomination. I wasn't using these cards, but all of a sudden they seemed really powerful when I was able to play Patriot in those games. And the idea was just to play Patriot whenever I could, and then just find areas to play these other cards to get big power and stack that way. And then the cherry on top is if you can onslaught Patriot to get even more. It would double that effect, giving +4 to all those no ability cards. And I also have Hulk here, and it doesn't really work with onslaught, but it gave me the flexibility to go, do I need to build up my other locations by onslaught on Patriot, or do I just need to win one location and stack a giant 14 power Hulk? And trust me, you will win games outright with just these raw power stats if you get Patriot early. Check out this clip here. All right, so this isn't the craziest clip, but it's a good example because I have a token and I have 2 vanilla cards, Misty Knight, Shocker, and the Sinister clone. So I have Patriot already set up. I'm going to play Onslaught there. It's going to double those effects, and we're going to get a big wide board spread of power. Could be crazier, but I thought this was just a good example. My opponent did get locked up with drones, which was kind of funny. That was from X-Mansion. But hey, there's a lot of you can do with this kind of deck, just the raw power output. And if you get Mystique as well early on, you are set to win some games. Oh yeah, and speaking of Mystique, you probably noticed she wasn't in the top 5. Well, that's because she makes the honorable mentions. Mystique is a crazy card when played with Patriot, Wong, all of these top 5s, she benefits greatly. I didn't add her in the top 5 because if you just get Mystique, it's not that exciting. You kind of need more in Pool 3 to really make her as powerful as possible. That's other cards as well here. Like Death, I kind of wanted to put, but I think you need a few more destroy things. The Hood is a really good card. He's not crazy, but he's good value for what he is and works well with the early destroy package. Daredevil lets you see what your opponent's going to do on turn 5, which works great with Professor X. Green Goblin just has a lot of value for his cost. Easy to play, great card to get early on. Human Torch is one of the staples for move decks later on, and you already have the basic move package from pool 1, so this is a great one to get early. Wave is a massive combo enabler. It lets you basically play 2 6-drops if possible in a game. She gets even crazier with pool 3, that's why she makes them honorable mentions. Magic would have been in the top 5, but she recently got nerfed and you can't play her on 6, so I kept her at 5. Same with Negative. Mr. Negative was the card to get. He was the most broken card, but he got nerfed 2 times in the last 6 weeks, so he's down here in the honorable mentions. Hella makes Hella discard deck a real thing, and that's a pretty valuable deck, but it's a bit RNG heavy, so I didn't want to add it. Same with Lockjaw. He's heavy on the RNG, but he can be his own deck, and it's really, really fun, so I wanted to put him here. And then last but not least, the one I haven't talked about is Arrow, who I am slowly becoming convinced is one of the best cards in the game, but I'm not quite sold on it just yet, but she definitely makes the cut here. So bam, those are my top 5 early pulls in pool 3. Not the best cards in the game, but when you're just getting a few chests going, you're getting your first couple pool 3 cards, I think these are some of the most exciting ones. Don't get discouraged if you don't get them. You're going to get these cards eventually. Everyone collects at a different pace, different cards. Just try out whichever you get. It's really fun. But what I'd love to see is if you comment below which pool 3 card was your first pull. I think that's really interesting. It's a big part of the Marvel Snap experience. So let me know in the comments below and I'll give you a star rating. Anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. I'm going to be doing top 5s a lot more frequently. I did this one on a Thursday night, but I plan on doing top 5 Fridays. So stay tuned. Every Friday you can expect a top 5 of something Marvel Snap related. So if you want to stay tuned for those, be sure to snap subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.